Did you ever learn to ride a bike as a child? Yes, I did. Let me think. It was during the Tet holiday. My parents bought me a really wonderful new bike. I was taught to ride by my uncle, who was incredibly encouraging but quite strict because he was determined to teach me to ride before the end of the holiday. Did you learn to swim when you were in school? I did not learn to swim at school because my school did not have any swimming classes, but I learned to swim for a few months one summer when my parents took me to classes at the local swimming pool. I went every other day with a small group of friends. We were tunnel swimmer. How has your hometown changed in recent years? I'm from Ho Chi Minh City and it has certainly changed a lot in recent years. Not so long ago, there were lots more low-rise buildings and narrow streets. Now the local government has replaced them with tall apartment buildings with better facilities and modern shopping centers. The streets are now much wider than before. They have also put a lot more parks in the city and have planted thousands of trees in the streets, so the city is more beautiful. How have restaurants changed in your country since you were a child? That's a good question. Restaurants and eateries have changed a great deal since I was young. When I was a kid, nearly all restaurants in our city were cheap and quite simple. Now, however, a wide range of Vietnamese and many international restaurants line every street. These are a lot cleaner and more elegant than the small eateries, but sadly are more impersonal and much more expensive. How would you improve your apartment? To start with, the place I'm living in now is quite small and crowded. I have too much stuff, and it makes it hard to keep track of things, and makes everything look messy and very cramped. There's also very little light in my flat. So, firstly, I would make more space by getting rid of some of my things. Then, I would have the windows made bigger and lighter curtains made and fitted. Then my flat would be much cozier. How would you improve your university to make it better? My university campus is quite scruffy and run down. I suggest the authorities improve it by spending more money on upkeeping the grounds and modernizing the classrooms. If I were in authority, I would have new classrooms built. I would have the sports facilities repaired, and I would hire more caretakers. Having a more modern campus would make life more pleasant for us, and the place more appealing to visitors. How important is art in life? I think art is exceedingly important in life, especially today. People spend most of their lives worrying about working, studying or earning money, and it is easy to forget the value of art, paintings, sculptures, and even contemporary architecture. People need to see beauty in their lives. Art is really fascinating and can inspire us to think more deeply and reflect on life. How important is music for people in your country? Well, it really depends on the types of people you are talking about. In general, music is especially important for young people, in particular, university students from big cities. Personally, I believe that some types of music are good for helping people calm down and relax, and other types are excellent for energizing people. Going to live concerts, for example, can be a really stimulating experience. What do you want to do when you finish university? What I really hope to do is work for an NGO here in HCMC. I would like to find a purpose in life. I don't want to just worry about success and making money like a lot of people nowadays. I think it would be so rewarding and challenging to work as a volunteer. If I work really hard and save up enough money, then I will go to Europe and get a master's. Tell me about your future ambitions. What I'd really like to do in the future is pretty simple. I'd like to find a good job, which will hopefully lead to a stable career, get married to a lovely girl and start a family. I hope to be able to afford a nice apartment to bring up our children. I think this would give me a great sense of pleasure and security. If strive hard, I think I can achieve this in less than 10 years. Do people do enough physical exercise where you come from? Well, in my opinion, people don't get enough exercise. The majority of people, especially middle-class people nowadays, are real couch potatoes. All they do is sit in front of the television all night. And the only exercise they get is going to get more food from the refrigerator. If children are to grow up to be healthy adults, they should learn how to take care of themselves. And they should cultivate an interest in sports like basketball, football or volleyball. Do students get enough holidays in your country? I believe that they get too many holidays. Most students have a long summer vacation, a fairly long Tet holiday, national holidays and all sorts of other days off throughout the year. Because of this, a vast amount of students forget a lot of what they've learned during the longer holidays, and take a long time to get back into the frame of mind to study well. It would be good if the holidays were a bit shorter. How can you find out about national and international news where you come from? Nowadays it's easier than ever to stay on top of current affairs. There are many different sources for news. There are newsstands in every major city, selling all kinds of magazines and newspapers, which often run interesting features on everything from fashion to international events. But generally, I surf the internet to stay up to date with what's going on in the blogs. Though some bloggers aren't very objective, their opinions are interesting to tread, and usually offer a different viewpoint to what I read in the mass media. How can people find out about local events and entertainment in your city? There's quite a lot of ways people can find out about what's going on. There's a local city weekend magazine, which is full of events listings, advertisements and reviews about the latest gigs. Classical concerts, art exhibitions and theater. There is also dining and drinking listings excellent for keeping track of the latest restaurants opening in the city. The magazine is both in physical form and online. It's a great source of information, the review very unbiased and it is very well respected. Should people to given longer holidays? Yes. They certainly should. As I see it, people often work very long hours but don't get a high salary or very many benefits in return. In fact, many workers frequently do unpaid overtime for their companies. I strongly believe that workers deserve to be given longer paid holidays so that they can relax more, in my opinion. If people are given more paid holidays, they are more loyal to their companies in the long term and probably work harder because they are more contented with their jobs. Do you think that students should be required to wear a school uniform? Absolutely not. I strongly believe that students should have the freedom to wear what they like in school. I think it's unfair to make children all look the same. School is a place for hard work and study, but also a place for children to learn to become individuals with their own styles, ideas and opinions. Young people ought to be given more choice in what they wear. If children are controlled too much when they are young, they can become very rebellious in later years. Is it difficult to learn another language? I think that learning a language is extremely difficult, probably one of the hardest things someone can do. When you first begin learning, it can be very confusing to remember lots of unfamiliar words and grammar. It often feels a bit awkward and you have to get used to making mistakes. But after a while everything feels much more comfortable and you can really start getting to. Do you think it's difficult for young people to learn to play musical instruments? I believe that learning to play musical instruments is pretty difficult for most people. However, I think that young people usually pick up new things relatively quickly. At first, it's quite hard to get into learning an instrument, but when you get the hang of it, it's not too hard to learn some simple tones. If you are dedicated in the beginning, I think after a while you will become quite proficient. Do you think that computer games are suitable for young children? I believe that computer games are inappropriate for very young children. For older children, I think it is reasonable for them to play computer games, but it would be advisable for their parents to restrict the amount of time they play games. As most people know, staring at a computer screen for too long can be detrimental to your eyesight. If children play for too long, they might harm their eyes. Also, games that are really violent or scary are not suitable, as they might have a negative impact upon the child's mental health. In moderation, however, I believe computer games can be ideal for developing children's lateral thinking skills. Are outdoor sports suitable for people of all ages? I think that most outdoor sports are suitable for everyone. Though people who do adventurous sports like rock climbing, abseiling, of whitewater rafting, should be careful, because these sports can be dangerous if you don't know what you are doing. In fact, now I think about it, for kids and elderly people, I think these sports are unsuitable. However, for fit and healthy people, these sports can be exhilarating and invigorating. Do you prefer to travel by bike or by bus? I prefer cycling to traveling by bus. Cycling is so much more convenient than taking the bus if you're not traveling too far. Actually, it's often faster to go by bike because you don't get stuck in traffic jams. Cycling is also better for my health than all other means of transport, including buses. Do you prefer chatting online of talking on the phone? Generally, I prefer chatting online. I nearly always find that chatting online can be more sociable, as you can speak to more than one person at the same time. Also, chatting online is often much more fun, because you can send smileys, photos, and even videos. Tell me about your usual daily routine. Well, usually I wake up around 8 a.m. I always have a cup of coffee while I review my study notes over breakfast. Then I normally ride my bike to school, apart from in winter, when it's way too cold. Before class starts, I often meet up with my classmate in the corridor, and we gossip a bit about life in school. After school, I always go straight home and then start on my homework, while my mom cooks me dinner. I usually go to bed at about 10 p.m. Do you do the same thing at the same time every day? During the week, I have a very regular schedule because of my job. I always wake up just after 7 in the morning, then eat my breakfast on the way to the subway station. I get to work at 8 o'clock sharp and usually work until 5. Sometimes I work overtime until 7 or 8. After I get home, I normally eat dinner with my wife, and after that either hang out with friends or watch TV before going to bed at about 11. What do you like to do in your spare time? Well, I have lots of hobbies I like to do in my spare time. I'm very interested in studying English, and I'm also quite into movies. Sometimes I combine these two interests by watching British or American films. What I particularly enjoy doing is playing football. It's so exciting. What do you like to do in the evening? I work really hard during the day, so in the evening I like to relax and unwind. I'm a big fan of hip-hop and rock music, and I like hanging out with friends and watching gigs. I'm also keen on reading novels and short stories. I'm involved in a reading group at my university, and every so often we get together and discuss the latest books we've read over dinner. It's so stimulating to talk and hear different views about the books we've all read. What do you dislike about parties? Well, I generally enjoy the parties I go to, but there are a few things I don't like. I don't like all the drinking that usually happens, and I'm not keen on meeting lots of new people at parties. If there are too many strangers at a party, I find myself having the same conversation again and again. Where are you from? What's your major? What's your job? I can't stand repeating myself, and this kind of conversation is very superficial. You don't really get to know the person at all. How often do you socialize with friends? I used to go out to dinner with my friends all the time. But I'm in my last year of university now and I'm really busy. I don't often have the chance to take a break and spend time with my friends. Once in a blue moon I'll have someone over for coffee. Or I'll go to a friend's house and hang out. I hope I'll have more time to socialize after I graduate. How often do you read books? To be honest, I'm always reading books. I'm a complete bookworm. I usually read novels. But sometimes I mix it up slightly and read books history or nature. I prefer reading novels because they are a great way to relax and escape from daily life. But I also enjoy history and nature books. Because they help me learn more about the world we live in. From time to time I might read some poetry, but I have to be in the right mood. What do you like most about student life? What I particularly like about student life is the golden opportunity it gives me to expand my horizons. At university, I can not only increase my knowledge about my major and learn new things like yoga, but I can also meet lots of new people. What is the best thing about your hometown? My hometown is Nha Trang, in Con Hoa Province. The best thing about my hometown is its location. It's right on the coast, and from most places in the city. There are beautiful views of the sea. Although we get the odd typhoon every year because we are by the seaside. We also enjoy light sea breezes during the summer. But what I specially value about Nha Trang's location is the fresh seafood we can eat all year round. Is football popular in your country? Yes, football is extremely popular in Vietnam. Generally speaking, I would say that the majority of high school and university male students regularly play football. As for watching football, I think most Vietnamese men of all ages frequently watch English Premier League matches. Although it sounds a bit sexist, I don't believe football is very popular with many Vietnamese women. Is music popular in Vietnam? I think it depends on what kind of music you are talking to. Most people in Vietnam listen to music every day. As a rule, the younger generation usually listens to pop, rock or hip-hop music, whereas the older people tend to listen to older Vietnamese song or folk music. I think many wealthy people listen to classical music, sometimes going to live concerts. What time of year is best for outdoor activities where you live? I think the best time of year to do outdoor activities is either in the summer or in the winter. Because it depends on what activities you would like to do. The weather between June and early September provides the best conditions for rock climbing, hiking, mountain biking or playing sports like tennis and football. Because it is warm, sunny and bright. However, if you are into winter activities like ice skating and snowboarding, then the depth of winter is the best time to do them. What is the best time of day to study? I think the best time of day to study is in the very early morning, just after dawn. This is the quietest time of day when there is no one else around and everywhere is completely silent. This means I am able to really get into what I'm studying and not be distracted by friends or family. It's definitely the most productive time of day for me. I just find it difficult to get up early. Why do some people like cooking? I think people of all ages enjoy cooking, especially creative people. For those who love to create new things, cooking provides a great way to express themselves, as they can experiment with different dishes and ingredients. Even quite conservative people like cooking, as everything needs to be created from scratch. It can be very satisfying to successfully cook a whole meal from start to finish. Why do some people like gardening? Gardening is most popular with middle-aged and elderly people. Probably because gardening is a very therapeutic and relaxing activity. Members of the older generation are generally more patient and often prefer less energetic activities. Gardening is a good way to unwind while making their home more beautiful. When was the last time you went on holiday? The last time I went on holiday was about 3 years ago in July 2008. My family and I went to Sao Pa for 2 weeks during the summer holiday. Sao Pa is an intriguing place to visit because of the Dao minority culture. My family and I drove out to the mountains there and trekked in the Fansipan. I really can't wait to go back there. When was the last time visitor came to your house? The last time visitors came to my house was just last week. It was my wife's birthday. And so I secretly arranged for a few close friends to come over for dinner and drinks. Although it was difficult to keep my wife from finding out, it was quite exciting in a way and certainly a bit of a challenge. In the end, everything went to plan and we all had a great time. It was definitely a really enjoyable evening.